today to talk about the real world and how we can be there instead of dreaming about the perfect world, about perfect things we see mostly on social media, and how a mentor could help a mentee becoming good or very good or great in the real world with instead of perfect in a non-existing world. So stay tuned because we'll be back in a moment. Hello, hello, hello. So welcome to the third episode of the sixth season of the Special Marketing Live Show. And today we're going to have Mr. Tony Alexander again with this amazing crew to talk about mentorship. I'm going to bring them all to the scene because they are on the basement and there's only one cook and a glass of cookie and a glass of water. So I think it's not enough for all of them. So let me bring them all to the screen. Hello. How are you? Welcome. So, for all of you who are watching us, please let us know where are you placed and on which platform are you watching the show. Okay, today we're going to talk about mentoring, which is a very important topic in my opinion. And as far as I'm the boss, I rule the things here. So, welcome everyone. I'm going to start with you, Tony. Maybe you can introduce the people.
Well, you know how I am, Marco. I love for them to just give that wonderful introduction of the self. So just to see how much growth and those types of things. And plus, I would probably do them injustice. So I guess, of course, let's start with Kim. So Kim can introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Ali. I am a registered nurse and a self-care and mindset coach for healthcare professionals.
Perfect. Next one will be
Key.
Key. You're the key to this show.
What's going on, guys? My name is Key Mitchell. I am a operating fleet analyst. I'm also an entrepreneur by night until I can be an entrepreneur by day and night. So that's me.
Perfect, perfect. And now Vincent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vincent Lancy. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I am an author, speaker, coach, and podcaster.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, now we have a new coming here. Hello, Erica. Okay, it's your time. It's your turn to introduce yourself. No sound. Your sound is very. It's very. You should.
Very bad.
Yeah,
I'll go
it's
out and
improved.
come back in.
It's good
I'll leave.
now.
I'll come back.
Okay. And we have Paul here. Okay, he's trying to make things work. Okay, so let me introduce the topic. Okay, today we're going to talk about this mentor role, which is bringing some reality to some minds. Okay, and don't hesitate to comment, to engage with the conversation. So I'm gonna bring again Mr. Tony Alexander. Okay, Tony.
Yes, sir.
You're the main mentor here. How can you what can you say about this situation? Because we are almost the same age. You know how things are about how we face the world, and mostly now with all the information we see on social media, we see, as we discussed before, we see so many perfect lives. And I think about a young boy, a young lady with around 20, and he wants to build a project, grow the project, and he looks around or she looks around. Oh, is everybody perfect? I can't make it. How can how can I do it? And on the opposite way, they may think, some of them, that they are already perfect, and his product service is perfect. So everybody, I will just hit a button and I will have thousands of customers. How do you see this?
Well, Marco, the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to talk about statistics. So, they say 20% of the time, 40% of people can make up 10% of the statistics 18% of the time. So I'm just going to put it like that in terms of a perfect world, right? So it's, the unfortunate part about it is social media has the way of selling us that perfect world. And when we look at, as I call it, Facebook famous or those types of things, if you dig behind the scenes, you'll find out that, people are on different journeys, attempting to do different things. And what you're seeing there on social media is just a facade. And the unfortunate part about that is it can end up impacting people that are motivated to do the right thing or trying to get to where they think that this other person is. So we just have to be mindful of what is for show and what is actually happening. And that's why mentors are so important, because a mentor can help you frame, your particular journey. And it can also help you to understand that there is no such thing as a perfect world. I think 2020 has really shown us that a perfect world does not exist. So when we talk about right now the new normal, that's what it is. And it's an imperfect world that actually helps us to grow. Because if everything was perfect, then, how would we be able to measure success?
Absolutely. Well, let's okay. I think now Erica and Paul are okay, so they can introduce themselves. Let's start with the ladies, of course. Erica, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Erica Atkins, also known as Coach Love, and what I specialize in is helping people interview well.
Perfect. Thank you. And then Paul. Hello, Paul. Can you introduce yourself, please? Let me unmute you. Okay. Now you can, my friend.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Speak a little bit.
Yes. How you doing?
Yeah. Can you introduce
How you
yourself,
doing?
please?
My name is Paul Hill. My name is Paul Hill. 25 years old. Basketball player, and I've been taken under the wing of Mr. Tony Alexander himself, and I'm also best friends with Key Deontay that song. So
Key, it's Key.
Here.
Don't.
Okay, perfect. I think try to stay close to. I don't know which kind of connection do you have, Paul, because it's the sound. It's crippling. So if you can stay closer to the Wi-Fi signal or something, it will be good. Okay. So let me now bring Kim, because I want to make her a question. Kim, I think you are as well from the old school, if you know what I mean. And I think I talked about this with Tony the other day, which was because now we live in bubbles, but I know in the 80s, 90s, we lived in the mainstream world, which means someone who was famous because he appeared on the TV, on a magazine, on a newspaper. That's the point. There was no LinkedIn, Instagram influencers, YouTubers, Facebookers, wherever. When you were at the age of these little boys, how do you face it? How do you started things? Okay, now I have to do this. Did you compare to everyone, or did you just do things and okay, the only way I have to improve is by doing, let's do it, and didn't thought too much about these things?
And Marco, that was for Kim or Key?
No, it's for you, Kim. It's for you. You're in the main room, so it's for you.
Okay, got it. Okay. Well, actually, the internet and social media came around when I was in my early 20s. So we did do a lot of comparison when Facebook and what's the other one? MySpace emerged.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Did you have i5 there?
I did. I never had a MySpace account, but I got my first Facebook account, I think back in 2006 when it first came out. So yeah, you really at that age, you aren't aware that people only post the good in their life. You know, people are never posting the low points in their life on social media. And I think we have to be cognizant of that. In terms of appearances, people always post the best picture. For those of you that love selfies, you know, it takes maybe about 100 snaps just to get the perfect picture. It wasn't until I became older until I learned that. And so now, someone who has an interest in mentoring younger women, I try to emphasize just always remember people never post what they don't want you to see. They always want you to post the good, and never compare yourself to other people. This is your journey, and only you can go down this road. And don't be envious of people. You never know what struggles one went through in order to get to where they are. But again, people will never share their true story with you. So I think if we keep that in mind, it'll help us navigate life a little bit more easier, and we won't compare our lives to other people's.
Yeah, it's important. And now let's bring Erica, because I think it's important to ask her something, which is about expectations, because I know that you coach people. Some, for instance, they want to go to an interview, and I think by these days the people fell in the opposite sides, which are okay, I suck, I'm very bad, nobody loves me, like the Queen song. And on the other, in the opposite side, people who thinks they are amazing, I'm great, so I will get the job. How do you set expectations to people before, for instance, they go to an interview, mostly young people, because I think there's this social media thing that I used to call them the Photoshop of life.
Yeah, there you go.
How do you help them? How do you help them manage these expectations, Erica?
The first thing that I do is try to frame the situation correctly, particularly when it comes to an interview. You're not doing a performance. That's not what's happening. What's happening is that you are building a relationship just for a period of time. And that relationship may continue after that point, or it may not. But whatever you do, try to be present in the moment and actually absorb what is going on. And if a person does that, they will really actually get something out of the interview, whether they get the job or not. And so that's something that I really try to help people with. And after we do that particular thing, everything else seems to be a whole lot easier.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Because I think it's kind of as we used to say on the sales thing. Sometimes you may lose the customer in that point, but you may build a trust and a relationship, and maybe you can sell them in the future. So I think you're coming to the same end, right?
Yes. Absolutely, Marco. I'll tell you a quick story. I'm going to use one particular student as an example, but quite frankly, it is the story of so many students that I've worked with. I had trained her, throughout the process, and I coached her for the job interview, and she had did fantastic. She had her eye on this one particular job. It was an entry level position. It was right at her skill level, and she just knew that she could knock the job out of the park. But she didn't get it. She did not get it, and she left feeling a little sad, but she knew that she made good connections while she was there. Quite honestly, her instincts were correct, because I got a call about her. It's like, where did you get her? She is amazing. She's one of the best people that we ever interviewed. The woman told me, she said, I just felt something special about her. She said, but I can't hire her because I have a better position for her, but it's not open yet. And I'm not sure if human resources is going to give me that position. But if anybody's going to get that position, I want it to be her, because that will make her work directly with me. So she didn't get a job, not because she wasn't excellent. She didn't get the job because the person wanted her in a different position that caused her to work closer with the interviewer. So actually she was saving her for herself. Now, I'm not going to tell you that my student really understood that situation until later down the line. I had the opportunity to tell her, this was planned for you all along. And she was surprised. I couldn't tell her all of that information up front, because it may not have happened. The interviewer may not, I'm sorry, the human resource manager may not have opened up the next position. But the reality is, the outcomes were she was paid more, she had better hours, and she not only gained a boss, but she gained a mentor. It's about 2 years later now, and she's a supervisor versus being at a entry level position. So she's gotten 2 promotions in 2 years, and the pay was significantly better. And she had an advocate for her career. So I just love when situations play out like that. But the reality is, she would have never known that background information. I just got the opportunity to know it because I was a liaison in the middle.
Okay, perfect. Excellent example. Let's bring again Tony to the screen. Okay, there you go, Tony. Okay, you're mute. Tony, don't you think that one of the problem is that people think that things happen as they just clap their fingers?
Absolutely. If you think about it, we live in a world of instant gratification. And what better way to look at that than Amazon, right? Amazon Prime, things overnight. So we just want that instant gratification. So when it comes to, whether being an entrepreneur or whether getting a job, we want the answer right then and there. So, we live in a world of just instant gratification. And unfortunately, that's why you find so many people who abandon their hopes and dreams based on the instant gratification. And so if we were to take a step back, and one of the things that, taking a step back, one of the things that I do as a mentor, before we truly get involved, because time is currency, I allow the mentees, I kind of give them an assignment. It's almost like a 30-day type of, let me see how far you are bought into this. And I might say, hey, read this book, and this book, or do A, B, C, and D. And then I'm kind of hands off for those 30 days, right? So I'm not touching it. I'm just sitting back and I'm observing, right? Because if you want my time and if you want me to jump in and be a mentor to you or do these certain things right off the point, then I have to see how much you're invested in it. And I have to see what your patience is. So with the patients, or with that in general, mentoring, if they don't come back to me with, hey, I have this done, or these are the things that I'm doing, then I know that they're not that invested and they're looking for something instant gratification. They might be taking a road of something that they've tried before with someone else, and they might see another mentee exceeding or excelling in that area. So they automatically compare themselves to that mentee, but not knowing that it took me 4 months before I even began to work with this particular mentee. So, everything is strategic. But the unfortunate part, again, social media. Why do you think they call Instagram, right? Because it's bam, right? You get your story. So the biggest thing is, yeah, we can't live in an Insta life. We have to put in the work. And in order to put in the work, it's going to be long days. It's going to be late hours. It's going to be conversation. It's going to be grit. It's going to be grind. It's not going to be as pretty as we think. And I know definitely that Key and Nix can definitely speak about that, as we've had some conversations earlier this week as where they are in their particular journeys or adventures that they're working on. And I'm sure Paul can definitely speak to the same thing. He's playing ball and waiting on the season, but he's got this coming up. So everybody just has to stay patient. And what better way to look at it than COVID? Because now you have patience with uncertainty. And that's going to be, a key factor in how you progress in your life going forward. So to sum it all up and bring it back in a circle, yes, it has a lot to do with instant gratification. And unfortunately, that instant gratification has caused people to kind of lose their way.
Perfect. Well, Tony, as we talked before, I think it will be good to do some showcasing with your mentees. If you want to bring them to the conversation one at a time, okay? So you can mention which one, and let's start the showcase if it's okay.
All right, let's pull Mr. Lancey to the screen, Mr. Vincent Lancey.
There you go.
All right. So Vince, kind of tell us what's been going on with you since the last time you were on the show. I've received 2 books in the mail, so I'm really proud of that. Laying on the table, but and I've read them thorough, love it. So can you just tell us, hey, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so I think the first time we stopped on, I was getting close to releasing my new book, Mr. Lancey Talks Mental Health. It is 7 mental health experts that take you through a 7-day journey to improve your mental health every day for 1 week, and then we turn those into habits and lifestyles. But what you were just saying about patience, and it ties into your story as well. When I started this pandemic, I was writing an entrepreneurship book for kids. I was on the final sketches of this book, and I ended up having to sever ties with the illustrator because of communication errors. There was a whole bunch of things that go on. So you think, I just wasted this pandemic. It's over, but I had a little faith, a little patience. Through networking, I got linked up with Chris Bridge. We put this book together, and now I'm just real excited to make a difference in people's lives, help them battle through this pandemic and come out thriving.
So a quick question for you. When you decided to do the book, did you think that it was just going to be instant? It was going to be easy?
If only so perfect. You go through a book as an entrepreneur, many of you can relate. You try to be a perfectionist at times where this is your baby. You're putting it out into the world. So you're going through it 1,000 times. The illustrations are going back and forth. You're tweaking little areas. In the book, there's several sections. There's activities in each chapter. Tony has an activity in his section, and trying to make that perfect activity going back and forth. You think, oh, it could just take a week, but it ends up taking 6 months.
This is true. I remember those late evening calls. It's not going right. And I think, Marco, that's important for us as mentors to know that, when you receive that call, or that your mentee is working on a particular project, then you should be kind of checking in with them to see where their frustration level is and help them to paint a better picture of, patience. And not only that, but nothing is perfect. And Vince said it just right, because I can remember him sending me messages like, oh man, this illustrator is going back and forth, or X, Y, and Z. And I would just kind of smile and I go, it's going to be okay. And he goes, no, but they're just not getting it the right way that I want. So I think, with that, as a mentor, you have to help people to understand that, if you wait for the perfect time, the time will never come. So you just kind of have to be ready to kind of roll with the punches there. So our next mentee, we will bring up Key. All right.
All right, let's go.
Awesome. So tell us, Key, since the last show, what's been going on?
Honestly, too much. I can say the journey to entrepreneurship is the hardest journey I've ever occurred in my life. As I say, when it comes like to social media, social media is the perfect world. Like we can take it as it is, but whatever you put on social media, that makes it your perfect world. For me, being an entrepreneur and starting my own company is challenging because you got to talk to numerous people about your own dream. And that's pretty challenging because when you're trying to make somebody understand what you believe, that's the hardest thing ever. And it's a step where people need to know that you have to move differently and think differently every single day, because just because something you believe at this moment is right may be wrong 2 hours later, and you have to adjust every single moment.
Absolutely. So it's very interesting. I think you and I had a conversation late last week and early this week, and we kind of talked about some of the things that you have going on. And I think the word reality actually came up in our conversation, So, tell me about, just over the last couple of weeks, share with the audience just some of the things that changed overnight from can't get the logo right from all of these different things. And I say this to the guests because he sent me 20 different logo samples. And he was like, well, which one do you like? And it was kind of hard to discern some from the others, but I was like, well, I like number 2 and I like number 3. And he would say the color isn't right or this. So tell us, Key, just about, you wanting that logo perfect. I think this is an example in the conversation that you and I had was if we wait on that perfect logo, then we're going to hold up progress on the other things. So we got to take the logo and let it go. Share with the audience your frustration over that.
I can say the biggest frustration is perfection. When you are an entrepreneur, you're a coach, or you give somebody a service, you want it perfect. When you go to a nice restaurant and you spend, $150, you want that $150 to be worth your experience. When it came to my logo, the hardest part was my mind was imagining every single thing perfect, like the color, the look, what people will say when they see it, the ambiance of people enjoying it. And when I got the logo, I was like, you did this with a crayon. Like, this is not what I wanted. This is not the color. This is not that. And you trying to talk to another person about your dreams, it's hard. It's hard for them to get it and say, oh, this what you meant. This how you wanted it. This where you wanted it to be. And that's why I say when it comes to perfection, make your mind do the perfection, but make your conscious understand that perfection is what you put in, not what somebody else can put in.
Absolutely. So good is a good thing so that the audience know we did move on with the logo that we both kind of agreed on. Yes. And we'll circle back to that once we open up. So definitely. So we're going to bring Mr. Paul to the screen, Marco. And we want to talk about, as I call it, chasing the dream of basketball and how patient. Because I think, Paul, you have a game coming up in Atlanta on the 13th of December with the Atlanta Rockets. So tell us about especially this patience that it's definitely taking being in sport and how you are managing that.
Gotcha. Well, the patience of that, like I said, like you guys were saying, of COVID, of how everything was planned out, and then COVID happened, and then everything's keep getting pushed back and pushed back. Tony, like what me and you always talk about, we got to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So that's the more important thing. But other than that, I'm excited of even having the opportunity to make the team, and I'm so excited about the game coming up, getting ready for the preseason. And like I said, it's been a journey. You and Keepy know that, basketball is my number one dream, and how I've been working and how us three together has been doing things so we can make this become a reality and get what we want. But yes, at times it does be frustrating because I know for me, I'm like very impatient. And I be wanting things to happen just like right here, right here, right here. And that's not the way life works. And, the saying is, if you wait, for the perfect time, things is going to happen. But it takes just a little push. It takes a little, trying a little more effort for you to actually get what you want and to be more hungry for it. So it shows the determination. It shows how serious, I am with it, like you said, Tony, with mentoring and what we went through. So yeah, the 30 days of even just the little baby steps of the, the strategic plans of you got to do this and you got to do this. You can't get to here from this, and you talking about the discipline, like the focus and all of that. Is so much little things that I had to learn throughout the process, but it has made me who I'm in. Is good for me to get better going forward though. So I'm so excited for the team. I can't wait to get back out there and show the world who Paul Hill is, and for Tony to make you proud. So I can't wait.
All right. So, and just I'm going to piggyback on one thing that I want to share with the viewers on that. But I can tell you that when we talk about patience and being hungry, I watched Paul chase the overseas combine from state to state, like on a 60, 90-day tour. It was like, every time you look up, he was in a different city, right? And that's about determination and patience. That's not something easy to do, and it's not instant, because if it was instant, then we wouldn't be looking at the next game that's coming up and those things. And I can remember having a conversation with Paul and talking about, hey, it's not going to come easy. It's not. People are not going to come and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to be in the NBA? It doesn't work like that, So with that instant, I can tell you when we talk about patience, and I'm going to put him on the spot, but Paul is one of the most impatient meetings that I have had, but he has gotten a lot better. But I can definitely understand when something is your dream that you've dreamed of for a very long time, and the closer that you get, the more impatient that you become. And for me as a mentor, the more that I see the mentees becoming impatient, the more I try to help them insert discipline in their life, in their personal life, as well as their careers or the case may be. Because if you can change or replace that impatience with discipline, you're going to have a better outcome in the future, and that outcome is going to last, and it's going to help you grow whatever it is that you're doing. So the same with Key. We have some projects coming up this week. We don't know, well, we do know, because it's not a perfect world, that everything won't land right when we want it to land. So we're going to have that conversation on, okay, so what's the next step? What's the backup plan? What's the contingency, right? But I don't think enough people do that. They go into situations thinking automatically it's going to happen the way that I dreamed, or the way that it happened on Lifetime or whatever station of your choice, right? And that, a shining knight is going to come in on a horse, sweep you off your feet, and live happily ever after. And we all know that that's just definitely not the case. We have to remain humble. We have to be patient, and we have to have discipline, because without either of the three, you're going to be stuck. But one other thing I want to mention, Marco, that we didn't talk about with all three, we need to recognize the small wins on a daily basis. So if you're closer than you are or you were yesterday, recognize that. So, hey, if you are a basketball player and you're trying to get your weight up and you're from 167 to 168 the next day, take a small win. And those small wins are going to show you that you're progressing towards your ultimate goal. If you finally got the logo that you kind of wanted, right? And go ahead and celebrate that small win. I have a logo. I'm going to move on. I'll come back and I'll revisit it with that. Okay. If Tony's goatee inside, Mr. Lancey doesn't matter. It's a little crooked to the side. It's okay. It's not about the picture, right? It's all about the finished product and the quality of the material that is inside of it. So, for me, I just, I try to do that. I try to celebrate the small wins on a daily basis, because if you just have this big audacious goal and you don't recognize the wins that you're taking to get there, then you'll find yourself feeling defeated and a little down. So,
absolutely. Well, I have something to say about, for instance, myself. When I started my live shows, I didn't have this name, which is up to me. I didn't have it when I started. I just made shows, and without name. So I think sometimes we overrated some things, and I want to get back to the ladies, and thinking about this thing. How do we manage when things don't go the way we think they should go? Okay, so I think there are two things we should think about it. First, how we overcome this failure, because I think by these days, again, a small mistake, a small problem, it's a failure. My God, everything is falling apart. My world, it's over. It's the first thing, how we overcome these situations, and the other one is to get the learnings from these situations. Okay, so let's bring Kim, because she's very quiet there.
Yeah, Marco, that's an excellent question. I always say that there aren't any failures in life. Some of my greatest life lessons have come through my failures, or when I was unsuccessful in something. But for anyone else, I would just ask them, well, first, what was your goal? And what do you consider a failure to be? And why did it happen? And what was the lesson that was learned? So that way, I would hope that someone wouldn't get discouraged and continue. But let's try it a different way. What did you learn? How can you do something better? Or how can maybe you have to shift your goal? Maybe right now that plan is not the best plan at this time. For example, COVID, a lot of us had to pivot with our business because our old business models were not conducive to the new situation. So I just always tell people there's never a failure. It's just a lesson on how to enhance what you're currently doing.
Thank you. The same question, Erica, please.
I'm definitely in line with Kim. A good acronym for failure is first attempt at learning. So failure is really a learning process, but you just have to have that particular mindset for that. Another thing that you want to take a look at is, what did you achieve? One of my favorite basketball players, since we're on the basketball thing these days, is Shaq. Shaq cannot shoot 3 free throws. He writes. He's horrible at shooting free throws, but yet he was one of the best basketball players that ever lived. And quite frankly, he's really phenomenal at a bunch of other things. Now, the only reason shooting free throws actually matters in this particular situation is simply to show that you don't have to be good at everything, even a fundamental, because free throwing is a fundamental of being a good basketball player, but you don't have to be good at everything. You can so-called fail at one area, but be phenomenal in other areas and still, be thought of as wonderful and one of the best of all times. Quite frankly, he's also a sheriff I think he has the Superman cape where he goes around saving people off the side of the road. He's an excellent pitch man. He has a PhD. And I think he also DJs. My God. I don't think we really care if Shaq can't, shoot free throws so much. So um, it is good to be concerned with what you can't do right and practice, because I don't think he ever stopped practicing, but it is also important to focus in on what you do well. It's very important.
Absolutely. Tony.
Well, wow, I don't know if I can go after those two, but I
Do your best.
look, I definitely echo the sentiments. So you don't have to be good at everything. And of course, with Coach Love, I love the acronyms. Fail. So I definitely wrote that one down. But it's just important to know, like we say, celebrate the small wins and just understand there really isn't any such thing as failure. It's a lesson. But the only time it's failure if you don't get back up and try again and try to excel, or if you don't learn from the lesson that is being taught. So I think it's very important that we kind of understand these things. And for me, this is why I don't require, but I suggest that my mentees actually journal, because when they journal, they can go back and take a look at their story and be able to get the learning lessons out of it. Because sometimes you can't see the lesson when you're right in it. So it becomes a little cloudy. But if you can sit down when the smoke is cleared and go back and, recollect on it and find out, okay, this is the lesson that I learned from it, then it's going to only make you better down the road. And as you begin your journey, then you can help and bring someone else along to prevent that failure from getting in their way so that they can excel or achieve what they are trying to do even earlier.
Perfect. And because of what Erica...
Yeah.
Do you want to say something, Erica?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I wanted to say that, oh gosh, I lost my thought, but I have another thought, so please forgive me. I wanted to talk about the 80-20 rule. Tony, can you please say what you just said so I can retrieve my thought?
Okay, so from which part? Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, we're talking about having the mentees journal so they can go back and recollect once the cloud clears and find out where their areas of, where they failed and what lessons were being learned. But also, I talked about your acronym. I talked about just taking, everything in stride and making sure that you are aware of where your failure your failure is. So hopefully that can spark a little bit. No.
No, you know what? It's gone. It went out there. It just went away.
We can make a break. So.
But I will say this. I will say this. Do not be afraid to make a mistake, and do not be afraid to be critiqued. And it took me a long time to learn that particular lesson. I'll just take what happened now. I remember there would be a time that I would just be mortified, and this moment, it would just spin in my mind all day and all night, and then I would go to bed thinking about it. I would wake up thinking about it. I would still be thinking about it, 2 or 3 days from now. And I would be so worried about my mistake. Aha, here's the idea. Here it comes. I talked myself into it. People want to learn from your mistakes more than they want to learn from your success. And I don't just say that because this is what Erica Coach Love thinks. I actually did a survey on this, and it was overwhelming. People want to learn from what you are doing wrong because it makes them feel okay that they don't have to be perfect. Perfection is exhausting. Ugh. you know? And then quite honestly, perfection actually becomes uninteresting. And I'll use the beauty world for an example. Now, women who are the best fashion models are the ones that are kind of flawed a little bit. The ones who have, too many freckles, or the young lady, she has vitiligo and she's a famous fashion model because she is different in that way. Stop trying to be a cookie cutter version of someone else's mindset, even if it's your own mindset. Be who you are and embrace every flaw, and then just go for it, and let people know what value you really can bring to this world, even with your flaws.
Nice thought. Something to add, Mr. Tony?
Look, yeah, I'm like that's a drop the mic moment there for me, Marco. That's I say that all the time. Be who you are, but first to be who you are, you have to know who you are. Get to know yourself. That's really important. So with that, because you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. So that's important to know. So that is really important to know with that. So if you're learning from those mistakes of others, then you're continuing to grow. And as she said, no one wants a cookie cutter version of you, or the case may be, but we have to learn to accept people with the flaws that they have, because we all have them. And I say this all the time, and Coach Love asked me, well, what does that mean? When I say meet people where they are, meet them where they are in mindset, body, spirit, those types of things there. And in order to do that, you have to have open communication, and you have to have it just has to be a two-way street there. So, but yeah, Coach Love, you nailed that one for me. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to be bad.
Okay.
I'm going to be bad. I am going to be bad, and about let me see, about 70 million people are going to like what I say, and about 80 million people are going to hate what I say. So here we go. I'm going to talk about Donald, but only in this way. He fits in my example because he does not worry about being perfect at all. Okay, and he got 70 million people to follow him, and it wasn't by fitting a mold that people expect. He was determined to break the mold, no matter how he did it. I point that out because those people did not want him to be what already existed. They wanted him to be like them and elevate their heart and their particular ideas. Now, I disclaim this statement. It was in no way political whatsoever. It was just a note about what people respond to. And that's what we're doing here. Everyone on this panel is participating in an activity because they are looking to elicit a response from a particular audience. No one wants to waste their time. We all want to matter. We all want to add value, and we can become our own worst enemy if we're chasing our own tail. My goodness, I'm going to do another sports one, but it's not going to be basketball. It'll be baseball. Who remembers how many times Babe Ruth struck out? Nobody, right? But what you do remember is that he was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And I can tell you for sure, he struck out way more than he connected with the ball. But when he swung for the moon. So keep swinging.
Perfect. I don't know if Kim has
Thank
something to
you,
say.
Key. I appreciate you. I'm getting too snap. Hey.
So I'm gonna bring another topic to the table, because I think sports, it's a good example. I think uh, because it's something that we see often on the TV, and it's talked often, and there's this thing about being the best in the world of something, and for instance, if you are a basketball player, you want to be the next Michael Jordan. If you are
Go,
the
baby.
but
Go, greatest of all time. Yeah.
yeah, but the problem is that achievable to you? Do you think it's fair for you to compare with the biggest one, and when you may not be that person, but you can make a successful career also? So how do you deal with that? Because there's it can only be one at a time, the best in the world, so if I'm always giving the example of Coca-Cola and Pepsi. I think the number one is Coca-Cola, the number two is Pepsi. Okay, but I think Pepsi, it's okay with the number two. They have this identity. They don't matter if the Coca-Cola is the number one, because they know that the number two, it's a big game too.
I can talk about that, Marco. I think it's important that we realize that, if we're doing this comparison. So let's say, hey, I want to be the next Michael Jordan. Remember, you want to be the next Michael Jordan. You don't want to be Michael Jordan, because everyone's story is different. And when we talk about comparing the journey, does your journey look the same as Michael Jordan's journey, right? So you can't be Michael Jordan. You can be the next, Paul Hill. You can be the next Keviante Mitchell, or the next Vincent Lancey. Be who you are. Now, if the competition is healthy competition, that I like to call, then there's nothing wrong with comparing yourself in that way. Hey, I have A, B, C, and D. But where it becomes unhealthy, when the drive begins to become self-destructive, So let's say, for example, since we're on the sports topic, let's say, you have a pulled hamstring, right? And it's going to do you injustice to get out there and run up and down the court, or to go to practice. But just because you want to be the best, you're going to continue to damage your body, right? You're going to continue to get out there. You're not going to listen to the doctors. So that's when it becomes unhealthy for you. And so I think it's important that we understand that we can only be the best version of who we are. And that takes, again, what we talked about a little earlier, getting to know who you are. You can't be the best version of who you are if you don't know who you are, right? So that's why certain things, I go to the mentees and I talk about journaling, right? Because you want to know where your thoughts are, what really drives you, what motivates you. And once you get to know yourself, you're not going to worry about comparing yourself with the Michael Jordans of the world or the Tony Alexanders of the world. You're gonna compare yourself with the Vincent Lanceys of the world, right? Or you're gonna just be the best version of you. So I hope that kind of sums that up, because unfortunately it happens a lot. And as we grow older, or as kids grow up through the generations, then you see them abandon their hopes and dreams. Because of the simple fact that they don't think they're good enough or they're worthy enough. And I think, Paul can talk about, just his journey, even in basketball. Like, how do you get from A to B? And then the moment you get a little closer, you can smell it. Your whole mindset changes. And you already know who you're better than. That's just the thing. Hey, I can do A, B, C, and D. But if you harp on being the next Michael Jordan, then you're going to find yourself coming up short every time. And unfortunately, you'll probably end up abandoning your dreams.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring Kim to the conversation. What your thoughts on this, Kim?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I always say that just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. And I think you have to look at the motivating factors for trying to achieve your goal. Kind of what Tony had to say. Let's say if you want to be the next Michael Jordan, okay? Why do you want to be the next Michael Jordan? Is it just for money, for fame, or is it to, motivate other young boys and let them know, hey, through hard work and dedication, you can be and do anything. So I think those are important factors to look at as well.
Absolutely. Erica,
Yes.
what do you think about this?
Oh gosh, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on this particular matter. First of all, when it comes to comparing yourself to some particular person or some particular ideal situation, I can guarantee you that Michael Jordan didn't know he was going to be Michael Jordan. You know, he did not know that he was going to be this entity. But quite frankly, when I think of the best basketball player, I think about him. But when I think about the best businessman in basketball, there are so many options to pick from. I mean, Magic Johnson, and then the infamous, the amazing dad, Kobe Bryant. He left us too soon, but I have to say I wasn't a fan of his when he was on the basketball court, but when he began to show the rest of his gifts and use his platform for other things, that's when I became a fan. He was a Grammy winner, and he was a writer, and I loved his art. So you just have to keep moving and showing who you are. Don't wait for someone to fall in love with the thing that you're doing right now. If you have a platform, if you have a voice, use those talents for whatever you can draw for them. You know, I love this 80 rule. 80% of the people are going to do uh, zero work, but 20% of the people are going to do most of the work. You personally are going to do a lot of work behind the scenes. So that's 80% of the work, but you'll get success in that work 20% of, of the time. You're going to have to let people achieve. When you delegate something, you're going to have to look at their work and say, okay, 80% is done. Let's move on and move down the line. Otherwise, you'll never get anything done when it comes to delegation. So stop trying to be perfect because you're only trying to dodge criticism. Try to be productive. Try to create positive outcomes. And I'm not saying leave things unfinished. I'm just saying stop trying to chase 20% of greatness when you already have 80%. Enjoy the 80%.
Absolutely.
You
I
you
think
never know.
Tony wants
20% might start chasing you. I'm
absolutely.
sorry. What did you say?
I think Tony wants to say something.
No,
Okay.
no, I think that was perfectly said, and definitely using the 80-20. But, another thought that came to me was, just think about when you compare yourself to someone else, you're still putting limits on yourself because guess what? You could be greater than the next person. So, that's the thought of mine, just say, hey, I'm going to be Tony Alexander and whoever that is, you might excel, past whatever Tony's got going on, or you might excel past Michael Jordan. But, using those comparisons, I think it puts a limit on your capabilities.
Perfect. Tony, do you think it will be good to make another showcase in this particular topic with your boys?
I think so, definitely, and with that, and just having them to come to the table with examples, because I get it. I get a lot of questions all the time from other mentees, that are just waiting for that perfect moment, And this is the perfect moment to have these kind of talks, because as we can see, the entire world is in a pandemic and we know nothing is going to turn out perfect. And so versus sitting there waiting for the perfect moment, it's time to make leaps and bounds. And I'm proud of what I see all of them doing, but I definitely think it's worth more conversation, because it's not just from a personal development. It's something that comes from the heart, Marco, and it's heartfelt and warm. And we need to be able to build as many people up as possible, especially again with the world and the way that it is right now. We need to let them know it's okay, one, not to be okay, two, it's okay not to be perfect, and three, like Nike, just do it. So
Amen, Tony. Amen.
Well,
right.
we are about to finish. I think it would be good to ask the boys because today there are no mentees, ladies. How, when you wake up in the morning, what do you say to yourself in the matter of improving? Let's start with Key.
Ooh, you don't put me on the spot like that, Marco? Oh my God. I would say the biggest thing out of everything is my motto. I tell Tony this all the time. Don't accept failure when success is free. I use that for every motto because, for example, yesterday I had a company that I was going to partner with my business, and they called me and said, "Yeah, we can't help you." And at that moment, I was going to accept failure, but I started thinking success is free. So I started calling over 6 different companies within 30 minutes. And an hour later, another company said, "We'll accept you and we'll let you use our software." So my biggest thing is when I wake up, the first thing I think of is when I start my day, I can't fail. Failure is free and success is free, but I'd rather have that free success than have free failure, because you can't do anything besides learn from failure. But when you have success, you have that next journey that you can take for your career or your next platform or your next business move. So always remember, anything you remember from this show, remember, don't accept failure because success is free.
Very good. Paul.
What I always tell myself is, don't look at where you are now, look at where you're going. And if you keep that same mindset, then it's going to keep you pushing forward, and it's going to keep reminding yourself that better days are coming forward. Like, this is not my last day. This is not where I'm going to end at. So if you just keep that mindset of look at where I'm going forward and not, living in the moment and not thinking about what's going on now, then it's going to keep hope alive, keep faith alive, keep the dream alive, and it's going to push you and have that more motivation and determination to go after it. So that's what I try to keep telling myself and keep applying to my life.
Perfect. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Now, Vincent, I should write. I know what you say each morning. I should write another book.
Yeah, something like that, but it starts with positive affirmations. And when I'm in Tampa, I have a pretty strict wake up, walk, read, meditate. That's how I start my day as soon as I wake up in Tampa, those 3 things. And I'm very selective of what gets in my way while I have things to do. Sometimes emails have to wait. And it all goes back to, like we said, staying true to yourself, staying in your lane and not looking the other way, not seeing the distractions around you. If you're hearing negative statements from the people around you or nothing that's not encouraging, it's time to put those people to the side. Everybody plays their roles in people's lives. Right now, these conversations we have each time, I gain new friends each time. I get to learn something from each of you each week. And I believe we're all here to make each other better, and starts with positive affirmations.
Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, so let's keep the ball rolling. Let's ask also to Erica.
Okay. The question is, what do I do in the morning?
Your first thoughts due to improvement and to getting better and everything.
You know what? Really, I thank God, and I set my intentions. Like, what what do I want to get done today? Those are the questions that I ask myself, and then everything else kind of falls in line after that. I learned that you need to put your big rocks in first, because the sand is always going to creep in. You know, as a woman, men, you have this too, but as a woman, um, we tend to just have a lot of little bitty tiny things going on, even so much so as managing our own emotions and our girlfriends' emotions, because they want to call us and tell us, this really terrible thing that happened, or this really awesome thing that happens. So there's some, chatter going on in there. And I have to just set my intention for the three big things that are going to happen in my life that day, and then move forward. So I kind of have this thought process in my head. It's not anything bad that's going to happen to me. It's how I'm going to respond to it, because really tough things are going to happen. But how is Erica going to choose to respond? And I'll leave you with one more basketball story. When we think of Magic Johnson, we do not think of him having HIV. But when that happened, and when he announced that, my generation thought that that was going to be the worst thing in the world, and he wasn't going to rebound. Now, these days, you have people denying that he has HIV because he's become a business mogul. And I've used these examples not for us to compare ourselves to these people, but to search for inspiration. So if you're going to do comparison at all, look at it as inspiration and not a mold to pour yourself into. Because I can guarantee you, there shall not be another person that shows up to be you. So you better be the best you that you can ever be, because this is the last shot for you to be on this earth and be excellent.
Absolutely. Well done. So before bringing, now it's time to Tony, but I have to read this comment from Janet. Hello, Janet. Good to have you here. When you compare yourself to someone else, you put limits on yourself. A great statement from Tony Alexander. I don't know who Tony is, but maybe. Tony, your thoughts. Well, you're mute. Why? Okay.
Yes. So, so the first, honestly, I just have one thing that I say, and I say, you got this, right? And I say that because, as Erica says, we know the story of big rocks and the sand and the water, and all of those things tend to seep in. So for me, I use my calendar faithfully, right? So I can remember a time when, hey, if it wasn't on my calendar and it popped up, then it just would throw my whole day off. And I'm just like, okay. But when I learned to say, you got this, that means whatever comes my way, that I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to respond, appropriately to it. And, again, and just realizing that I'm not perfect. I have flaws, and that it's okay to just move on. So just, you got this. It's a simple thing, and I might say it 5 or 6 times before I finally roll out of bed. But it's just letting me know when those things come up, of the unexpected. And also just staying motivated, because, speaking victory over yourself. And that's important too. So as Vincent said about meditation. So even at the end of the day, around 9:30, I actually meditate before I go to bed, because I want that energy to rub off on the very next day. So when I get up, that it's a certain cycle for me. So that's it. You got this, right?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Well, my friends, we came to the end. So I think within 2 months, we will be back. We'll be back. So I hope that time we have lots of new achievements to talk about it. So thank you so much for Tony, Erica, Paul. Paul, I hope you make nice points. He also, and next next show, I think Vincent will have to talk about 20 books or something. Well, it's something that I want to make to write a book too. Yes, I want. And thank you to all of you who are watching and who will catch the replay. Hope you're doing well. Keep safe. Okay, so it's a wrap up for now. Bye bye. So let's say bye bye.
Bye.